Welcome, everybody, to the Hounds podcast. This is your home for field trialing and deer dog hunting. It'll be stories and discussions on the world of dog hunting. So let's drop the gate, cast your hounds, and get ready for another episode of the Hounds podcast. The Hounds podcast is proud to partner again with Outdoor Dog Supply for the 2025 year. Outdoor Dog Supply is the leader in online garment sales with their world-class trade-in programs. The guys are not just a business, they're houndsmen and women too. They test their products out in the field, put them to the test, get the latest in garment equipment, and they stay locked and loaded and ready with field trial equipment, collars, leashes, and so much more. Visit their website today at outdoordogsupply.com, and we want to thank Outdoor Dog Supply for their support not only for the podcast, but in field trials across the country. When you're looking for your next purchase in equipment, make sure you keep Outdoor Dog Supply in mind. Now, let's get this episode going, guys. Welcome, everybody, to the Hounds podcast. On this episode, I am joined by the highly requested Mr. Lenny Crowe. How are you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing wonderful. How you getting along, sir?
Hey, man, we're here, man. We're here just trying to get through this this crazy time of the year. You know how it is.
I do. Sorry about
so,
that.
No, you're good. You're good. No worries there at all, man. No worries. So for those that don't know, just kind of give yourself a quick little introduction. I know this is always the awkward part of the the interviews, but just give you a quick little introduction, who you are, where you're from, and how long you've been a houndsman.
Yes, sir. So my name is Lenny Crowe. Obviously, I'm from Galvins Ferry, South Carolina. I've been running hounds, I guess, in competition about 32 years, give or take a little bit.
I gotcha.
They started. Sorry about that, being nervous.
No, you're good. You're good. No worries, brother.
Started running hounds in I guess 93 or 94, and been at it ever since. So I've been hooked on it.
I gotcha. So did you start off straight into the competitions, or were you out in the outside world a little bit first? How did that kind of get going?
No, so basically when I graduated high school, graduated in 1987. That tells a little bit of how old I am. I graduated in 1987, and I moved to New York City, and of all places. And
right.
I lived there for 7 years. I went up there. I went for the summer and didn't come back for 7 years, and I actually got into the telecommunications, and so I worked up there. I met a young lady, and we got engaged, and I thought it was time to relocate and move back to South Carolina. So when I moved back to South Carolina, I guess it was around 92, 93, we moved back to South Carolina, and one of my good friends, Craig Granger, we were high school friends. He was one grade ahead of me. He was running dogs, and so that's how I basically got into it with him. He had dogs, and I had never seen a dog run, had seen anything, and all of a sudden his brother-in-law and several other folks were hunting, and I decided I wanted to do that, so I jumped in head first.
Gotcha. Straight into the competitions.
Well, so basically, I didn't have a dog, and his brother-in-law, his name's Archie Hucks. He's actually a pretty well-known fox hunter from South Carolina, and
right.
We were sitting there at Craig's house one afternoon, and he knew I wanted to get in some dogs, and a dog of his came cutting across the field. He was a Johnson's lefty male, and he said, Crow, he said, you see that dog right there? He said, I'm gonna give you that dog. And I said, well, I'll take him. So I took off across the field, and it was a blanket back dog. It was ticked up. It was off of Johnson's lefty. And anyway, Archie gave me that dog for free. And
very nice.
I didn't have no kennels. I didn't have anything, so I carried him to my buddy Craig's house, and he kenneled him for me. And that was the very first dog I ever had. He wasn't too good of a dog. He ended up a full-fledged babbler, so he didn't last long. But he got my start. He had a beautiful mouth, gorgeous mouth.
Gorgeous mouth, doing it all wrong, right?
Got that right. He did. But you would turn him loose, and when you would turn him loose, then my buddy said, Crow just got to the fox pen, because as soon as you would turn him loose, every breath out the box, he would be going.
I
But
got
yeah,
you.
that was the very first dog I ever got, and Archie's the one that gave him to me. So
That's awesome.
it's very
That's
neat.
awesome. You can't beat that.
Now,
How long did it take for you to have to cut ties with that dog, or understand that it wasn't that wasn't his his
yeah.
forte in the competition world?
So I got him, and so basically you had so he was my best friend at the time, Craig Granger. Got is one that we started together, and
Right.
he was already field trialing with his brother-in-law Archie, and then you had Bruce Johnson, Oliver
Mm-hmm.
Smith, Charlie Nobles. They were all big time hunters. Tim Johnson from around our area, and so basically we'd hang out together and socialize, and they were field trialing. So I got him. He quite didn't work out, and so I went to Bruce Johnson next, and begged him to sell me a dog, and he sold me a dog for $150. A little gyp named Ginger, white gyp,
Okay.
and first hunt I took her to, she got second HGA at a 1 day at Pamplico, and then I was hook, line, and sinker.
I was gonna say after that it's over then.
Yeah, she wasn't a 3 day dog, but she could tear you up at a 1 day.
Gotcha. So is that would that be the Dog Bluff Ginger dog that we were looking at? Was looking at, or is that a
No,
different dog?
she was Crow's Ginger. Is
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, so the way we started those were so when I initially started field trialing, Craig had his own. He ran his under Craig Granger. I ran to my first 4 or 5 hunts, um, and I ran them under Lenny Crowe.
Gotcha.
And then we hunted together every week, a couple times a week. And
Right.
so finally we said, hey, let's partner up, and let's do this together. And so we started out as Crow and Granger to start off with. That was our
Okay.
first kennel name. So we partnered up, not long, probably my fifth or sixth field trial, and then so we were two peas in a pod. After that, we'd go to hunts, and we'd run dogs together. He keep half, I keep half, and we were all in 50-50.
I love it.
It
That's
was
yeah, that's fun times.
it was.
That's fun times.
It's
So
fun.
where go ahead, go ahead.
It's also fun when you're hunting, and you got a partner to hunt with. You
Yes.
go run dogs by yourself. Today, sometimes I'll go run dogs by myself. Well, 2 or 3 hours into it, you get kind of bored. You want someone to talk to. So that was a blessing, and it was very enjoyable.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Especially when you got somebody that can match your energy. You know what I mean? Like if you got somebody that has the same dedication, the same heart, the same drive that you got and wants the same things out of the dogs, man, that's a magic combination that's hard to find.
You're right.
It is for sure. So where did the name Dog Bluff come from then?
So we started out as Crow and Granger, and
Mm-hmm.
we had a little bit of success. We were hitting at a few 1 days. We
Mm-hmm.
might have got a little something at a 2 day,
Mm-hmm.
and we decided, hey, we saw, Mr. Charles Graham, one of my idols. He had touchdown kennels, and you had several other people that had kennel names, and so we were like, let's get us a kennel name. So we thought for a while about it. Well,
Mm-hmm.
halfway between where he lives, I live in a little area called Gunner's Island. He lived about 10 minutes away. Right
Mm-hmm.
between us, there was a store called Dog Bluff Store, and the road that comes kind of near there is Dog Bluff Road. So I said, well, how about Dog Bluff Kennels? And he said, man, I like that. That'd be a good name. And that's where I've been
And
Dog Bluff
it's
Kennels ever since.
stuck after that.
It did. It did.
That's one of my favorite things. You hear all these kennel names, these crazy kennel names, and you always wonder where the heck some of them come up. But when you got those cool stories behind them, that's the fun ones.
It is.
So you've been talking a little bit and mentioned a few names. We got together and we talked a little bit and been sending notes back and forth. And you've mentioned a few names. I want to talk about some of the mentors and influence that you had. Like you said, I wouldn't say a late start, but compared to a lot of people that are in this sport, you didn't start off, when you were a kid. You weren't like a teenager, when you got into it. You were out of college or out of high school and had a career, and Had a wife, woman. I'm not sure what y'all were at the time, but
I was married then.
yeah. So I mean, you had a lot going on. So there's definitely going to be some influences in your life, and one of the first ones that we had wrote down was Mr. Hubert Clemens.
Yes, sir.
I'd love to hear some how he kind of affected you into this field trialing world.
So Mr. Hubert Clemens, so he's famous. His nickname was Mr. Fox Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
He was he was one of the premier master of hounds at the time. You had Hubert Clemens and you had Bobby Cleghorn.
Okay.
Those were the two across the United States that people wanted to come master their hunts.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
he had a fox pen over there in Green Sea, South Carolina. And so running with Craig, we went over there and somehow I got introduced to him and I just took to Mr. Hubert. He had a fox pen. He had two pens actually. He had like a 300-acre pen and he had a like a 100-acre pen called the Labor Camp. And he trained puppies and he trained a bunch of good dogs. He bred good dogs. He's had the national champion. And something about it with him, I just clicked. So I used to I basically would I'd go and I'd shadow him. I'd wake up on Saturday morning. I wouldn't have anything to do, and so I'd just say, you know what? I think I'm gonna drive over to Mr. Hubert's and ask him, can I look at his dogs and check his dogs out? So I'd knock on his door at 8 o'clock in the morning. He'd come to the door with his bedroom shoes on and his pajamas, and he'd say, "What's going on, Lenny?" And I'd say, "Not much, Mr. Hubert. How you doing?" He said, what can I do for you? I said, "Well, I'm just out riding around. I said, I want to come check your dogs out." So he said, "Well, let me go in here and get dressed, and we'll go out there and take a look at him." And if I did that once, I did it 30 or 40 times, and he knew I was wanting to learn and ask questions, and so I started. He befriended me, and I'd ask him a million questions. I'd go over there, run with him, and I'd go, and he'd say, get there that morning, we'd we'd sit around on the couch and talk, and he'd say, "Well, you want Miss Hilda to come in here and fry some chicken?" And I'd say, "Yes, sir." And started going to some field trials, and I was seeing him because he was mastering a lot of hunts then. And
Right.
so the very first hunt I ever judged, he
Mm-hmm.
was mastering or judging. And
Mm-hmm.
I can remember it like it was yesterday. I said, "Mr. Hubert," I said, "I want to ride with you today, and I want to ride with you, and so I can, ask you questions, and you could ask me." And I asked him what to me would be some simple questions, but I'd ask him things like, "Hey, if a dog's running a covered track, um, how much time do you got to give him? If is it 30 seconds when the first pack comes and the next dog comes?
Mm-hmm.
Is it 2 minutes? What is it?" He said no. He said, "Son," he said, "the best way I can explain it, Lenny," he said, "if a pack of dogs comes through here running the red fox," he said, and he said, "next thing you know, that pack is way over yonder." He said, "and that sucker comes through here, tonguing on that track." He said, "I'm gonna scratch that rascal for a cover track." So he answered that, and that was pretty funny. And then we got on a dog. It was late in the day, and we were over there standing on a canal ditch. And I'll never forget it. We heard some bushes were rattling, and he
Right.
said, "Something's in them bushes." And next thing you know, a dog busted out, and he busted out of there, and he come through the ditch, and he was looking for something. And we saw him for like maybe 2 seconds, 3 seconds tops, and then he went right back in the briars.
Right.
And Mr. Hubert said, he said, "I'm scoring that dog hunting." And I
Right.
said, "Mr. Hubert, we only saw him for 2 seconds." And he said, "Sir, it doesn't matter how long you seen him." He said, "He was doing it." He said, "When you see him doing it, you score." And
I
so
like
he
that.
taught me. I asked him 100 other questions to go with him. There were a couple that come to mind, but he was there to mentor, ask questions, and he was just to bounce ideas off of. He sold me one of my first pups that got some trophies, and he just was really good to me and very humble. And it was I wish he was still here. I tell you that.
The Hounds Tales podcast would like to take a minute and talk about our friends over at Cajun Lights. When pleasure running at night or judging those nighttime field trials, put your trust in Cajun Lights. With the economical Cajun Bayou for the every now and then light user, the Cajun Micro for the nighttime feeds, and the top level Cajun Blinder for those hardcore crossings. The Cajun lights are headlamp-style lights that free up your hands for voice recorders or your GPS. They offer flood-style lights in red, amber, and white walking lights. Then the top of the line 4-level main beam light. If you're having a hard time catching crossings at night, give the Cajun light a try on the red and amber setting to catch the game with the easy flick of a switch and go right back to your main beam light and see your hounds in action. Visit our website today at CajunLights.com and check out and make sure you fill out the survey and select Hounds Tales Podcast to receive 5% off your next purchase from Cajun Lights. Now let's get back to the episode, guys. Understand that. That's hard to beat right there. When you got a seasoned judge or a seasoned, fox hunter and can ask those kind of questions and trust the answers that you're getting from him, that right there is hard to beat. And it's funny that you mentioned the cover track. I'm very vocal about that's not one of my favorite rules in the world because it's a very open-ended, like you said, it's there's a lot going on with that rule and not a huge fan of it. So I like hearing an old school judge's opinion on what it was and how it was enforced back then.
Yeah.
So what kind of time frame was that? Like what years was this
That
was this happening?
that was in the early 90s.
Okay.
93, 94, 1993, 94.
Gotcha. I know I've heard that name a bunch. I'm still kind of new to the sport-ish myself. I've only got a handful of years into this thing, so a lot of those legendary names that I'm not 110% familiar with. I love hearing more and more about them.
He was a great field trial man. He won a lot of hunts. He won the Nationals. The Nationals used to be run in Sherrall, South Carolina, Bennettsville area. He won the Nationals with a dog called Clemens Perkins, and they say he was a professional hunter. He was one of those. He had a bobtail. He was white, and Mr. Hubert loved white hounds too. He had a bobtail, and those. He said that several hunters have told me this. I never saw Perkins in action. That was before I was field trialing, but they said that a judge would be driving down the road and Perkins would be trotting down the side of the road, and then all of a sudden that truck would pull up to him and stop, and all of a sudden that dog would just immediately go to work and sit there and work, and they'd have to score him, and he lit up the scoreboard, and he had Hot Flash and a bunch of other good dogs, and he never won the USO, but that was his favorite hunt. He was a big PD USO director supporter, and he never won the USO. I think he placed in it like 7 times. No, he was second, but he was the breeder of the USO champion. Billy Sports won the USO with a dog called Sports Money Man, and that was a puppy he bought from Mr. Hubert. So that was pretty
gotcha.
Cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
He was it.
So, and I may be jumping ahead just a touch on something here, but from what I understand, you're a white dog guy.
I like white dogs. I've always had a couple of black dogs, but yes, Craig, when we first started, Craig wanted all white dogs, and I like white dogs too, but I like a good-looking blanket-back dog back then too. But some of our better hounds were white dogs, so they ended up. Our first couple of champions were white dogs, and
gotcha.
So you got everybody said, "Oh, they got them white dogs," and white dogs were famous back then. So you had Mr. Hubert, and then you had Dono Clemens. He was famous back then. He had a big famous dog called Dono's Batman, and he was white. And it was like today. It's not that common to see somebody at a field trial with a bunch of white dogs,
right?
But back then. It was, I don't know if say that it was 50-50 or even 60-40, but it was a lot more. There isn't that many today. Now you got brindles and all kind of other crazy colors out there now, but they used to be the cool thing back in the day.
That's right. I was wondering if Mr. Clemens had a little influence on the white dogs, becoming part of your kennels. I guess that's kind of where I was getting into with that too.
He did.
Yeah.
him and Lonnie Ward as well. They Lonnie was had his stud dog was Ward's Ben, and
Mm-hmm.
he was a big white dog with a big blocky head, and he bred him a lot, and that was some of our first dogs were out of that stock, and so yes, they and Lonnie got mentored by Hubert too coming up. Lonnie's still living today, and
Yep.
and so he used to run over there. He built Hubert's clubhouse at his Foxmen. Hubert trained his puppies. They participated in the PDs, the USO, the Nationals, the All Americans, all those hunts together. They hunted
Right.
together all the time and stuff. So yeah, that was a it was Lonnie was a big time white dog man, and so that was a lot of influence on it too.
I was gonna say, and it's a good roll into, we got Mr. Lonnie Ward is another mentor and influence on your career.
Yes, sir.
What's some of the impact that he's had as well.
So Lonnie was it. So I think it was around 1995, 96, 97. I went to a hunt. We were over there at Pamplico, and I'll never forget it. Lonnie was walking through the line the third day of the hunt, and he had, I think, like five big, stout, strong white dogs, and he did have one black dog then too. But he had four or five. Man, had five or six walking through that line, and they were about to pull him through the line. They looked like they could have pulled a freight train. And I remember looking at him walking through that line that third day. I said, I want to be like that one day. I want to walk through that line with a handful of hounds and big, strong, muscled up looking dogs. And so I can remember like it was yesterday him walking through there with them dogs. And then obviously he had there in his pack he had Ward's Quick Lips. She was like kind of
Mm-hmm.
three-time champion then. I believe she won the field trial that day to make her fourth championship. She ended up being a five-time field champion. And those
Wow.
were with big hunts. Those were $500-$600 hunts she was winning.
Right.
He had Ward's BB. He was a dual champion. He had Ward's Jamie. She was the um, Virginia State field champion. He had another Jip out of Quick Lips. It was a pretty good. And then he had another little dog. I think it was Steady Ready. He called her, and she was off of some of Mr. James Artis' stuff. But yeah. So Lonnie, I saw him, and I didn't know him. I knew him okay then, and I took a liking to him, and he took a liking to me. And Lonnie is a big mentor of mine. I looked up to him. He never had to look up to me, but he used to help me so much. He judged so many hunts back in the day when I was
Yep.
putting on field trials. He mastered so many hunts for us. The first so the first two champions we made were off of his stock. We were off of Ward's Ben.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just been a lifelong friend to this day. I could call him, and not only has he been there through fox hunting, teaching me, helping me when he was the president of the South Carolina State, and myself, Paul Caskey, Ryan Watson, we call him Hammerhead. We were all young men, directors, and Lonnie used to work the tar out of us at the South Carolina State. I'm talking about work us. He's a hard worker, so he worked us hard. But he learned us. He put some good traits in us, and in his stands to this day. Now he's an honorary director now, and I'm still good friends with him. And just a couple years ago, it was he got inducted into and he got the Lifetime Achievement Award,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the All American. So
Right.
that's probably the highest honor in all of fox hunting, to be a
Right.
Lifetime Achievement of the All American. He's also a Hall of Famer in the big Hall of Fame that we started in the Masters a bunch of years back. And
Yep.
but I got to give his induction speech, and that'll go down as I was so nervous up there. Not I've got up in front of 100 people or 300, 400 people and spoke 100 times,
Right.
but I wanted to make sure that I did it justice, and I hope he thinks I did it justice. I've never asked him, but yeah, it meant the world to me to be there that night when he got in, and get up there and tell all the stuff about him, because he was it back in the day. Like I said, he placed four dogs that day and he won the hunt. He dominated. I can remember when me and Dono Clemens were on top of the world. Me and Dono Clemens and Lonnie Ward. We went to the Ogeechee River one year. Me and
Mm-hmm.
Dono had two or three champions. I had two or three champions. Lonnie was more judging than he was. He was judging and field trialing, but he judged a lot, and or mastered a lot. I'm not say judge. He mostly was doing a lot of mastering. And we went to that hunt, and so me and Dono were supposed to have the good dogs. Well, we get there, and lo and behold, the second day they called the Derby winner out. Lonnie wins it. Me and Dono didn't get nothing. We got stumped, and we're all in the picture with Lonnie with his big old quad. It was at the Ogeechee River. That's a big hunt in Georgia. And so yeah, he schooled us and put us and showed us who the man was, and
I would say the professor went to work, didn't he?
Yeah, he's been a great friend. He recently had the C&M Foxmen and over there in Chadbourn, North Carolina, and he's actually he retired from the Fox pen. He's one of the other fellows took it over for him. He figured it was about time to step aside, and he's piddling and doing. I don't know what he's doing every day, but I know he's got projects going on, and
I'm
he
sure
doesn't run dogs anymore, but I know he misses it. And I went and visited with him. I guess probably about 6 months ago. I was in Tabor City, so I swung over by to visit. And he brought me in his shed, and he had all of his silver. He took out of the boxes and had all of his silver from that's what back in the day. If you wanted the North Carolina State, PD, any Virginia State, all the big hunts, you got silver. It was silver trays and stuff. Well, he had all his silver cleaned up. He kept every bit of it and had it all on the table. So I got to listen. He was pointing out, hey, I want that one here, this one here, and I got to hear all those old stories again.
Golly,
it was really
to
good.
Be on the fly on the wall for that conversation.
Yeah, he was it, man. He's a heck of a dude, man. He'll give the shirt off his back, you know. So if there's a death in that community, Lonnie Ward is he'll go home and throw 15 Boston butts on the grill and go over there and take it to the family. He always donated to the at his hunts. He always picked a child in need, and they would do a 50-50 raffle. His part, the 50-50, would always go to the child in need, and he would add money to it. He just did the right thing. And that was all the good stuff. And he was tough as nails too, and he was tough on us. Now it was but yeah, he was all that in a bag of chips.
That's awesome. I've heard a lot of people talk. I've never got to meet him in person, but I've heard numerous people talk about Mr. Ward, and I've not heard a single bad thing about the man. I don't think anybody has anything negative to say about him at all.
The only negative they probably say is we pick at him because he gives us such a hard time when he's mastering or he's in charge of something when he was director. If we didn't do something right, he'd scold us and get right on us. And so me and Donna, we'd laugh about it. Other people might take it a little personal, but he was a business owner, and you know, he was great, man. We used to cook and field trial together so much. It was a lot of good times. Miss it.
He had that old school way about mentoring and leading you.
Yes, he did.
I tell you, man, it's you talk to some people would try to take offense, and man, you bring some more of that old school style education back, and you know, and teaching, you know, and people learning off of guys like that. Man, you talk about you could change the world. Good gosh, man,
got that right.
You go to some of these field trials, and you know, you get people that are kind of getting into it, new to it, and it just. I feel like the little bit of lack of respect that there is in some situations, so people like Mr. Ward probably wouldn't be letting that fly, would he?
No, sir. No, sir. I promise you that. No, sir. I would not have it. And all of his two sons and his grandchildren, they're just as respectful and well-mannered as you've ever seen. So, yeah.
Yep. That kind of influence, it'll pass down, that's for sure.
Yes, they will. That's for sure.
That's awesome though. That's and to give the lifetime achievement speech, you know, for him. And you know, introduce him for that. That's you talk about an honor. You know, it's not something that a lot of people would even think about, that it would be a high honor in a lot of people's books. But you know, that's really cool that. You know, you were able to do that with him being so close and being that part of your life. You know, that's really cool that you were able to do that.
Definitely, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, y'all, we're going to take a quick second and pause this episode, talk about our partners over at Elite Nutrition. Our Hounds guys, they're athletes. They give us their all each and every time they're cast. Elite Nutrition offers all natural products to give your dogs the natural benefits that they deserve. From the canine remove and all natural wormer to the ElectroBoost paste for electrolyte replenishment, body fluid balance, and blood flow improvement, they also have products like Active Dog Powder for recovery and joint and muscle support, Essential Dog Powder for daily vitamins and minerals, probiotics, prebiotics, and enzymes, the Canine Lactate Powder for nursing dogs to help with milk supply. There are tons of other products to check out at CajunLights.com, and then click on the Elite Nutrition section to explore. When you get to checkout, and only at CajunLights.com, use the code HTElite10 to receive 10% off your Elite Nutrition products. Again, that's HT Hounds Tails Elite 10. So HT10 Elite 10 in the discount code section to receive 10% off of all your Elite Nutrition products only via CajunLights.com. I've been using their products, guys, for several months now. Cannot be happy with the results. That's pretty much all I run my dogs off of. So thank you, Elite Nutrition, for joining up with the Hounds Tales podcast and taking a step forward into this field trial world. Now let's get back to the results. So one more we got on the list is Mr. Charles Graham.
Yes,
love
sir.
to hear some more about him.
So Mr. Charles Graham, when I started field trialing in the early 90s, so Mr. Charles Graham was he was a school teacher, he was a principal, he was a superintendent, super smart, super well educated. He's probably one of the best friends that I've had in my life, and he was there for me whenever I didn't have a father that was here, and I needed advice. I could always go to Charles, and he was there through fox hunting, and he was there do life lessons and stuff, and he was a pillar. So Charles Graham was so he owned a Pamplico pen, him and several others. He was Touchdown Kennels, and Touchdown Kennels was big time back then. They were he dominated the field trial circuit. I mean, when I say dominated, he dominated. So he'd go and he'd run 20 or 30 dogs at a field trial, an outside hunt with no tracking collars, and it wasn't nothing for him to place 4 or 5 dogs. He went to the Mid-South one year. That was on the outside, and 7 dogs finished the hunt, and he had 6 that finished. And, but he didn't win, so we always joked about that. He was second.
That's funny.
Second through 7. But he was a big time fox hunter. He was a national director, All-American. He was a big time master of hounds. He befriended me going to Pamplico, and he took me under his wing, and he was just there. He had a little nub finger. He'd look at you like that when he'd sit there and throw them fingers out at you like that, and he'd tell you that story. He'd tell us 1,000 stories, and me and him would argue like he was 30 years older than me, but we would argue like we were brothers. And he was a big part of pushing me to be president of the South Carolina State. He nominated me for that several times. I finally got it. He nominated me to be the president of the Masters one year, and I got that eventually. And he was just always there. And so Mr. Charles, back in the day, so you had White Cat Helms was the most famous stud dog when I was coming up. And then you had Action Cat. Action Cat was producing when I started, and then White Cat. Well,
Yep.
You had Mr. Charles. He had a dog. He had a dog called Big Boy, and Big Boy, I think Mr. Charles had told me, if I remember right, that he had finished second in the Count of Sire field, which is the stud dog points. He finished second to David Helms, I think 6 years in a row, and so Mr. Charles had and Big Boy was off of Hornet and Midnight, and that was the most famous cross in all fox hunting in the history books. There's probably won't ever be another cross like that. And so the Hornet G and Midnight dogs were they were big, strong combination type dogs. I'm sure they could do it today. And you had Jimmy Brown had some, Charles Graham had them, but that was a famous cross, and he was a big part of that. He put on a lot of field trials. He gave the shirt. He got me to put on the. So we were coming home from the Nationals one year, and I had never put a field trial on ever. and we
Right.
were coming home from the Nationals, and that's where we had bag phones. We didn't have these cell phones. We had
Right.
bag phones. And so I got on the phone, my bag phone, and called Mr. Charles and said, "Hey, did you hear they canceled the Low Country?" And the Low Country was supposed to be the week of Thanksgiving, and I think we
Okay.
were leaving the Nationals uh, into October, 1st of November. So the hunt was going to be in like 2 to 3 weeks.
Hmm.
I said, I heard they canceled that hunt. And I'm like, man, I can't believe they don't cancel. And I was hooked on dogs in, and I was getting trophies. And um,
Right.
I did not want them to cancel that hunt because I wanted to go there and run my dogs in that field trial. So
Right.
he said, so we talked, we laughed, and he said, well, let's get back to South Carolina and we'll figure it out. So we got back to South Carolina. I went to his house that Monday,
Yep.
and he said, all right. He said, we can put a hunt on if you want to put a hunt on. He said, and if you want, me and you can do it, and or he said, we'll do it. And if we lose money, we'll split the losses. He said, or if you want, you can do it. And if you make money, that's your money to keep. If you lose money, that's your money to lose. So
Right.
he said, I'll help you get the judges. I'll help you. I'll tell you what all to do to get the field trial permit. You had to get the food set up to have the cooks. You had to have people get the hotels. You had to have gas accounts for the judges. It was just a lot of little things.
Right. Yep.
And
Yep. A
so
lot
he
going on.
pushed me into doing that. And lo and behold, we did it. And we actually used Mr. Hubert Clemens's Nature's Pasture. We used his association. That was one of his associations. He let us use that association to put the hunt on that weekend. And anyway, the hunt went off without a hitch. And that was the start of me putting on 150 field trials.
Wow.
And so, thank the Lord, I don't have to put on field trials anymore. But I did my part on those, and so we did them. And I can thank my good buddy Charles. But we pick and argue, and I'll never forget it. We'd argue Masters dogs versus Nationals dogs. 'Cause that was when the
Hmm.
Masters first coming up, and he was just all that. And he'd get his shirt off his back. I was a pallbearer at his second wife's funeral, and God bless her. And he
Yep.
was just a really good friend. And I'll, I wish he was here today too, because I sure do miss him. I'm just
I'm
telling you,
sure.
Mr. Charles was it, and I miss him. And just a heck of a nice guy. And he was a great football coach, and he was just a great person in life. Always, he'd be the first one the one thing about fox hunters is when when things bad things happen. It
Right.
happens.
Right.
Accidents happen.
Yep.
Anytime an accident or something happened, he would be the first one. He'd say, "Hey, everybody, such and such, we had a car accident this morning. Everybody knows him." He said, "Listen, we need to come together and give to the family." He said, "I'm gonna take my hat. We're gonna pass it around." And he said, "Here it is. I'm putting $100 in the hat, and I'm gonna start it off." And you know, that $100 in 1995 was a lot of money.
That's a lot of
Still a
money.
lot of money
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
And but he was
That's
just
a.
all there, always giving and stuff. And he set an example for me and for Dono and for my one of my best friends, Paul Caskey. Paul
Hmm.
Caskey, I haven't mentioned him. I didn't mention him in the write up, but he was me and him about the same age, and he is Paul's probably one of the best hunters in the United States of America
Oh
right
yeah.
now today. He's going to win the Hound of the Year probably. And me and Paul and Ryan Watson and a bunch of us young guys were there. Mr. Hubert, Mr. Charles Graham, Mr. Hubert and Lonnie, they were always there to coach us up, and they were it, man.
I love it. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. You can't. Yeah. I was blessed and fortunate enough to be able to sit down with the Caskies, both of them, and do an episode. And man, that was one of my favorite ones. You could feel it just doing the episode. Like, man, you're talking to Hall of Famers and future Hall of Famers, and just big parts of the sport. And that was really cool. And sounds like Mr. Graham was a huge part of your life, and that's
Yeah.
incredible. And
Mr. Charles,
especially
he had
go
he
ahead.
had won that Lifetime Achievement Award, and he also won he was also in the big Hall of Fame too, and he's a
Gotcha.
South Carolina State Hall of Famer.
Right.
Which the plug Paul's going to be in that too one day. Paul
I
Caskey.
have, yeah.
he's
without a
going to be
doubt.
a shoe in. You know, I don't know what the age criteria is and all this, but it's not if it's going to happen. It's a matter of when it happens.
When. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
great guy.
And talk about Mr. Ward too. I've had a lot of people request him to come on here and do an episode, and I'm hoping that maybe I can get a few more influences on him, and we can make that happen.
I would definitely listen to that.
Yeah, yeah. I've had a lot of people request him, so I may have to use you as a plug and see if we can't make that happen here. Maybe
You can't get
come the beginning of next year. So we've been talking about a lot of the influences on your career, on your life. So hey, we're on here for you, man. I've had, like I said, I had a lot of people ask about you and getting you on here and stuff. So let's kind of talk about your career. Um,
um,
I
well,
see.
yeah. So I've been very blessed and fortunate in
Hmm.
this fox field trialing dogs. I've been able to been a bred All American champion. I've bred South Carolina state champions, field champions. We've won I think 11 field championships. You know,
Hmm.
haven't won a field championship since 2007, so it seems like a
Hmm.
long time ago. I've been second, been third a few times. I've won some 2 day derbies several years back. Been on a little dry spell, but but the one thing I've learned in that being humble in the dry spell is now I really enjoy going to field trials, and to me, field trialing isn't about winning, and I can say that because I was lucky enough to win a lot, but
Right.
blessed in life just to be able to go and participate, see all my friends that I've made. But yeah, we had a hell of a run. 1997 started it. We won the South Carolina State in 1997 with Granger's Rita,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
she's off of Ward's Bend, and
Yep.
Ward's Bend was a great stud dog, and that was a tough hunt. And we after that maybe uh, I think the next championship we had won was Samantha Fox Crow, and she
Okay.
was another Ward's Bend. And the funny story on that was I will tell that now because I'm not
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
my
Right.
my ex wife said that she wanted to buy me a puppy for Christmas, and
Right.
so Craig wasn't supposed to tell me. And but anyway, Craig said, "Hey, your wives want me to get you a puppy," and he said, what kind of puppy do you want?" And I said, "Well,
Right.
it doesn't matter." So several on Sundays, a lot of times, like I used to get up and go drive to Mr. Hubert's and just go bug him and want to look at his dogs. Just
Right.
go walk out there and look at him and tell me stories about him. We'd get up, we'd go ride around to people's houses
Hmm.
and uh, and look at when I asked to look at their dogs, just knock on their door and say, "Hey, man, can we check your dogs out?" And you know, they were idols to us. We looked up to them, and so it was pretty neat that we did that. But so we went
Right.
and bought Samantha Fox. We went to 2 or 3 places to get puppies. They didn't have them, so we said we got one more place to go. We'll go to Lonnie's. We were on our way home.
Hmm.
That was our last stop that day. We pulled into Lonnie Ward's. Lonnie come out there and said, "Yeah." He said, "I got 2 puppies there for sale." Lonnie had like 3 litters out of Ben, and he had 1 litter off of Quick Lips. Had
Okay.
like 30 something puppies. There were two
Right.
left. Two. So that meant they were basically the culls.
The Coles.
He
Right.
had
Right.
so he had a male off of Quick Lips and he
Hmm.
had a female off of Ward's Bend. And
Hmm.
he said those were the two. So Craig was looking at me. Well, Craig, all he wanted was girls. And I really what I prefer to this day, I like females over males. I've had some good males, but if I had my choice, I'd rather a good female. They're just smarter, better, snazzier.
Hmm.
Get a great male. A great male is
Hard
more
to beat.
stronger, dominant. But I'll take. I like females. Well, Craig loved females too. So Craig kept sitting there going. He said, "Lenny, there wouldn't be nothing wrong with that little male out of Quick Lips right there." He said, "I believe that male will do." And I kept looking. I'm saying, "No, that's not. I don't think that's gonna work." He said, "Which one you want?" I said, "I want that female." And so anyway, so I got the first pick because he was buying the puppy, and so Craig ended up buying the male, and he paid Lonnie for the female, and sure enough, she turned into a real dog, and she went on, and I think she placed in 18 3-day field trials. She won
Mm-hmm.
the Virginia State Derby. She was a good one, and so that was good stuff back then. But it was pretty funny, and she ended up being half his anyway. It wasn't long after we left there that day, and then lo and behold, my ex-wife, she had bought me two puppies in my life, and both puppies she bought me made champions. So yeah,
Man, I'm telling you, that it is something about a woman picking them dogs out that just has magic to it.
it is.
Magic to it. My wife has picked out every litter I've had at my house. She has picked out the best dog out of litter every single time. I don't. I make her come over to the lots at about 6 weeks old. I said, "All right, pick one," and then whatever she picks, it stays.
That's good. You better keep up with that. Keep doing that.
Daggone right. How do you get a name like Samantha Fox Crow? Is there some kind of story behind that? It's a wild name. I kind of want to hear the
Yeah.
story behind that.
So I guess I'm kind of old. So Samantha Fox used to be a model. So I hate to say it, but so I had Jenna J. That was another one. Jenna Jameson. So if you ever heard of Jenna Jameson, she was in the late 80s, early 90s a porn star. Jenna Jameson. So I named one Jenna J, and I named her Samantha Fox. That was how I got the name off of that. I
Gotcha.
read it, seen it somewhere. I didn't watch any of that stuff, by anyway.
I'm
But
sure,
anyway,
yeah.
but yeah, that's where the names come from. So yeah,
That's
Samantha
awesome.
Fox. Yeah, that's exactly where I didn't know you were gonna ask that question, but that's the truth. That
I'll
was
throw a
so
wild
funny.
one in on you every now and
That's
then.
pretty funny. Good one.
Yeah, when you see a name like that, I'm like, yeah, there's got to be something behind that. So
Yeah,
I always like hearing it, man. That's
yeah.
awesome.
So you were talking. I'll tell you one last story about Samantha Fox. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we went to we went to the Virginia State and Virginia State in pools.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was 95, 90,
Okay.
95, 96, something.
Yeah.
No. 97, 96, 97, 98.
Okay.
Around
Yep.
it was about that time then because we won the first one in 97. So I'd say late 97, 98. And
Right.
anyway, we got there and we were field trialing and got looking around. Who we see? Bruce Clyburn. Well, I don't know anybody that is as old as me. They know what I'm talking about. So anyway, we saw Bruce Clyburn. It was like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my God, there's Bruce Clyburn over there. That's him right there. And
Right.
so we were like in awe and shock to see him. You know, because you read the magazine every month, it would be Bruce Clyburn, Clyburn Cody, Clyburn
Right.
Rock.
Craven's Rock. Yep.
He dominated the field trialing back then. I see him now to this day, and he is such a nice guy. And his boys
Yep.
are his whole family, the boys and the girls, they're still running dogs.
Oh
And I
yeah.
got to visit with him a
Good
few
people.
years back at the USO. I guess maybe 5 years ago we were there, and he showed up on that Friday when they gave the awards out, and I got to visit with him. It was so good to see him. But yeah, we had so they gave the awards out that day at the Derby, and we had chased Samantha Fox. She couldn't catch her hardly. We were the only one. I was the only. Me and Craig were the only ones who could catch her. And I
Mm-hmm.
was too lazy. I was a little overweight back then, and so Craig was a lot skinnier than me and probably in better shape. So he went in the woods and chased her, and he chased that dog all throughout the pen both days. And we finally caught her. Where they were giving the awards out, Bobby Cleghorn was there. It was the Master of Hounds. Bobby
Mm-hmm.
Cleghorn was it. I mean, he was Hubert Clemens, and he had Bobby Cleghorn. So all the time when you would see, they would have you read the magazine, it'd have the Nationals Master of Hounds Bobby Cleghorn, or it would say Virginia State Bobby Cleghorn. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget it. We were sitting there while the hunt was going on, and you could on pools you could drive around the side of the pen,
Yeah.
and we
Yep.
were on the side of the pen on some of those roads there,
Yep.
and we ran up with Bobby, and he got there and was talking, and I didn't know him then. I got to know him. I got to know him very well after that. He mastered a bunch of hunts for me, and but we got to hear him talk, whatever, and I was just sitting there like in awe, watching him sitting there tell those stories and talk to us, and the way he called out the HGA, no other master, they all do it different. The big time
Right.
master hounds, the way they call it out,
Yep.
and the way he did it, he'd say, he'd say, he said we had 2 hours of running today, and he said we had 3 hours of hunting and trailing, and the way he called the dog's name out. But long story short, we got lucky and won first place. Well, Bruce Clobber was second. So we went over there, and when that hunt was over, everybody left out of there like a ghost town. And me and Craig were over there, and if we didn't high five 100 times, we did it 200 times, and we thought we had done something. We have come to Virginia, and we have kicked Bruce Clyburn's, you know what, and boy, we just thought that was the greatest thing ever, and now, come to think, Bruce got second. He placed the dogs hundreds of times. We had never got that many. We had never placed that many dogs ever, so it was a big deal for
Right.
us. And anyway, that was I told him about that story when we were there, and I said, we were over there. I said we were drinking liquor, and we were high fiving, and we just carrying on like a bunch of uh, you know middle school kids
Right.
bragging. And I thought we had done something, but yeah, but that was big time then because he was it. Bruce
Yeah.
was he was the man.
Yeah.
Pretty
I
funny
get it.
story.
I get it, man. You go to a hunt, there's always that guy you see there. You go, nowadays you roll up to a hunt, you see a Wisnet dog or a Wisnet roll up into the hunt, you're like, oh man, he's
Very
the one.
respected
If
young
we
man.
beat him, and then you felt like you done something. You could have won the hunt. You could have won 3 other hunts, and he wasn't there. But when you go down there and beat Mr. Brandon,
Brandon,
then yep,
very
you
respectful young man. I enjoyed. I got to speak with him about 4 or 5 years ago at Lonnie's Pen, and he came up and come up and said, "Hey, you probably don't remember me, but I'm such and such." He said, "I used to read about you and stuff," and he was so respectful. I enjoyed sitting there talking with him. It was a really good conversation, but he was just as kind and respectful as
yep.
I can be. I told I don't know how he treats other people, but I know the day I met him, he was very respectful and a good young man. So,
He's always been good to me too. He's
boy,
Brandon's a great guy. He really is. I think he catches a lot of slack because he's so successful.
he wins a lot.
He wins a lot. He's hard to beat. He's got it. He's got it down to a science, man. And I think he catches some slack for that reason. But I've never had no bad dealings with him. Never had no rad run-ins, and I have nothing but the utmost respect for Brandon. Dad always shakes my hand every time I see him, and we have a conversation. So,
Yeah,
I, he's a great guy for sure. I'm trying to talk him into coming on here too, but I can't talk him into it. I've tried and tried and tried. I've been giving him crap about it, and no,
okay.
I better not do that.
If I see him, I'll put a bug in his ear to tell him we want to hear him
Oh yeah, and
tell us about Jimmy B.
yeah, that's right. And Bruce is another one.
Oh,
Bruce is another one. I've been man, I've been talking to his son back and forth. Me and him, we shoot the breeze every now and then, and he's assured me he's going to get them on for me, but we just can't seem to get it lined up right. But he's one I can't wait to have these kind of conversations with.
Uh, he was the man back in the day. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And their whole crew is working their tails off to try to live up to it as well. That's for sure. The Hounds Tales podcast is proud to announce our newest partnership with Dog Tight. Y'all watch it on video. Check out the hat. Be sure to check out dogtight.com, and if when you are there, use our discount code HoundsTales15. That's HoundsTales, TALES, and the number 15 to get a 15% discount on any of your apparel that you get from dogtight.com. I'm sure y'all recognize the name, the Dog Tight song. Carson Robertson and Dog Tight clothing line has jumped on board with the podcast, and we are very, very excited to see where this takes us. So be sure, if you're looking for Dog Tight apparel, hats, hoodies, shirts, check them out, dogtight.com, and use our discount code HoundsTales15 at checkout to get 15%. All right, guys, let's get back to the episode. So, obviously, we'll talk a little bit more maybe about this hunt here in a little bit, but the South Carolina State Seems like it's a big part of your life, and you've had a lot of successes at the at the South Carolina State.
Oh,
One that I don't know that we've had the chance to really hit on is Granger's Rita.
yeah,
I see you've made a champion with her at the South Carolina State. I'd love to hear some kind of background on that, and
yeah.
on her as well.
That was the big start of that's what got us off the map was Rita. We had 1997
Hmm.
won the South Carolina State, and I remember Gary Gowan used to be a big dog man there, and I remember we were at that hunt, and we had started placing dogs, but we hadn't made a champion yet,
Mm.
and he said, "Oh, you gonna place again?" I said, "Yeah, but if I can't win a champion, can't win a championship," and we were hunting hard as was hunting as hard as we could. That's what we wanted to do. We'd run it twice a week.
Right.
Back then, we'd run all night. You'd run red foxes and a fox pen all night. You'd go run all night,
Yep.
and we'd run on the outside. And Granger's Rita was son. She was a real deal. She could go. You could turn her loose on the outside, and she could do it. She was also not only did she win the South Carolina State, she was 5 years old when she won that hunt in '97, but she also finished second in the PD on the outside, and she could do it. So she made the cut at the All American and was right there in contention to place there. She was
Ah.
a superstar dog, and so that hunt was kind of like a coming out party. I remember Mr. Huber was the master, and
Of
we were
course.
there.
Yep.
And he said, the running broke down. So if you've been back in Pamplico back in the day, you'd run red foxes. There was no coyotes there. They would run reds. And so it's very similar to pools. Some days they'd run good, some days they wouldn't. Well, most days
Right.
they'd run about an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
it shut off like a light switch. And we were, so it was hard to finish a hunt. I mean, if you had a dog that could finish a 3 day, you did pretty good back then because
Hmm. Hmm.
after when the running shut off, the dog he had two choices. He could either come up to the gate and quit, trot up and down the road, which is basically quitting anyway if you're just trotting
Right.
up the road, or
Correct.
you could get into the briars and look for something
Hmm.
and make it happen.
Yep.
And so Mr. Huber, he got up there and he told the story that day. He said, "All right, y'all." He said, "It was a bad day today now." He said, "Don't y'all be expecting too much." And I'm like, "Crap, boy, we probably got scratched out this hunt. We ain't done nothing." And he said, "I'm just telling you." He said, "The running broke down." He said, "It got hot." He said, "It was, South Carolina State used to always be the third week of September. It's
Ooh.
hot as fire
Yeah.
up there." And so anyway, they started calling trophies out, and luckily enough, somehow or another, we got 4 HGAs and won the speed and drive with Samantha Fox, won
Wow.
the field championship with Rita, and that was just from '97 to 2007. Was on a blaze. Then it
On a
seemed like
tear.
and it was so funny because I guess I basically took it for granted. I thought I was going to last forever, and but it sure didn't. And anyway, but it was a heck of a ride. But so South Carolina State too is also my favorite hunt.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
there's I've been 31 straight years.
Wow.
Glenn Humphreys, he's been
Hmm.
35 straight years without missing a hunt and
Wow.
participating. And so I don't think I might not ever catch. Glenn's a little older than me, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
probably won't ever catch Glenn. But it's
Yeah.
okay
Right.
if I don't ever catch him. I'm okay with it.
That's right.
Glenn used to be famous too. Big City was his dog. He had Big City Houston, Big City
Okay.
Express. Express was bad business back in the day. But South Carolina State's always been my favorite hunt. So
Gotcha.
luckily, I've been fortunate enough got to win it 3 times. Um,
Right.
and
Yep.
uh, and Charles Graham, he won it 3 times. And
Very nice.
both of us have won it 3 times each, winning the Nationals. And Stephen Fowler, which was our president last year,
Right.
um, he has won it 3 times. But I pick with him and say, we're going to put an asterisk beside one of yours because he had what we did one year was we did a dual hunt. When I was president, when you're president of the state,
Hmm.
you're in it for a 2-year term. And so the
Gotcha.
second year we were at Manning, we did. I tried something new. I tried something new. So we did a dual hunt. We called it. It was a South Carolina State, and we did a Nationals HGA and we did a Masters HGA. It did South Carolina. It did both hunts at the same time, but it
No
scored
kidding.
under two sets of rules. And
Interesting.
so that was very interesting. So what happened was when they gave all the trophies out that day,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Ryan Watson, Hammerhead, it used to be
Mm-hmm.
Hammer. You've heard me say Ryan and Hammer
Yep.
several times. That used to be
Yep.
Paul's kennel marker, Big Oaks and Hammerhead kennels. That was
Okay.
and so Ryan Hammer won the um, the Nationals HGA. He won his championship there, and Stephen Fowler won the Masters
No
HGA.
kidding.
So we had two champions,
I
and
was
that
wondering
Masters,
if it was going to be a difference.
yeah, it was. It was a
Yep.
big difference because one leaned more toward speed and drive, as the other one leaned more toward hunting and stuff. So yeah,
Right.
it was a difference. And so we even though still Stevens won it three times too, but he hasn't won three nationals. So just me and Charles has done that, and Charles is gone. I'm hoping I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Lightning will strike again, and maybe I'll be lucky enough to sneak in there one day and I can knock
There you
Paul or
go.
one of the boys out and get in there and get it again. If not, I'll just take the three. That'd be good enough.
That's right. Hey, that's still a lot of accomplishment. And I, talk about Rita before we move on to some of these other ones. I see she's awards Ben too. It looks like you had a lot of Ben in your lots, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken.
So Rita was she says she's double bred, gentle bred Charlie, Mark Helms bred dog.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, so
See that?
Rita, so basically Rita was so all of our all the champions other than Samantha Fox, she was awards been uh, Dog Love Rita, Dog Love Ginger, uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Big
Yep.
Willie, Pippin, um, all of them. They're all off of Rita, Granger's Rita. So
Yep.
that's where Granger's Rita, she probably produced 10 championships at least 10. I'd have to
Wow.
count them up. And she probably, I'd say 48 3-day HGAs her offspring is done. So she, not only was she a great hound, she was a super
Great
producer.
producer.
Because
The golden goose.
we bred her to Batman, I
Mm-hmm.
think three different times, and two of the crosses had champions, and and a couple of them multiple champions. Then off the blue, which I got a funny story to tell when we bred her to Black John. There's a
Mm-hmm.
real funny story with that. But we got to breed her to Black John, he was a black and tan dog, and she was a white and lemon dog. It took me a lot of finagling to make that happen. But anyway, we bred her to. It was Craig's turn to pick, but somehow or another it went my way. And anyway, we she produced champions out of that cross too, and it was yeah, she was something else. Granger's Reader. So that got her put in she is in the big fox hunting Hall of Fame in Greatest Dam.
Gotcha.
She's one of the greatest dams,
I was
and
gonna say she has to be
basically for
with
her
that much going on.
her
Yep.
producing, she produced a lot of field champions, and she produced dogs that could cross the finish line. Athletic, they could do it today if they were still here, but it can't prove that because they're not
Of
here
course.
anymore. But they were very game. They were fast
Right.
dogs. And,
Well,
they
like you talked about, a lot of people will. How do I say this in a sincere way? A lot of people will downplay some of the older hunts and some of the hunts that still happen today. Of hey, it's like 2 hours of running, then a lot of you better get in the bushes. But I tell you what, man, it takes a mentally tough dog to finish those hunts and win those hunts. You don't have to
oh
be
yeah,
just fast. You got to be mentally tough, and that's something that I personally like to see over, obviously you want to have a fast dog, you want to have a strong dog, you want to have all those attributes, but man, those mentally tough dogs, that's the ones that are hard to find. You can't teach mentally tough.
and they could run too because they did not only the first couple like Pippin and the first ones off of Granger's Reader that we made champions with. They won running Red Fox,
Hmm.
and then a year or 2 years later, when we made the last cross where I got Dog Bluff Reader, Dog Bluff Ginger,
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
when coyotes came into South Carolina. They legalized coyotes, and Charles Graham he stocked Pamplico to I'm from head to toe with coyotes, and so it went from no running after they opened the Manning pen. You
Right.
had to compete with them,
Yep.
and it went from no running to wall to wall. But
You
the
better hold
start,
on tight.
Mr. Hubert Clemens always said, he said, a fox pen is supposed to be like a microwave. He said, just turn it on.
Right.
And that's what it was when Charles put them. He had to compete with the Low Country fox pen. Mr.
Yep.
Richard Evans built a pen,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden he had competition, and so he had to stock it, and he stocked it. Well, he put one year, I think he put like $85,000 worth of game in there, and we always had the first hunt of the year there at the Mid South. But the point I was trying to make was that
Yeah.
her cross there, they made I think they were 5 years, right at 5 years old. They placed fourth and fifth in their last speed and drive in their last hunt, and those were running field trials. So yeah,
Gotcha. That's awesome.
good
That's
stuff.
awesome. Well, and you've mentioned Pippin, a few times. Was that going to be one of the first crosses, one of the early crosses off of Granger's Rita?
It was the second cross. We bred her first to a dog called James is Busy.
Okay.
Sean James had him. That dog placed in like 15, 18, won the speed drive over at Pamplico over and over. Good looking white dog. Sean
Right.
James was a great dog, man. We went and bred to him. We got three puppies, two or three, and they were good, but they weren't. We never really dominated the field trial. And so then the second time we bred them, we bred to Batman, and
Mm-hmm.
which is Donna's Batman, which that was off of Boyd's Rambo and Clemens Eden. That was Mr. Huber's breed, and
Mm-hmm.
we went back and bred to that, and that's when that cross hit then, and that's what Pippin was off of. And
Gotcha.
so when he won his South Carolina State in
Yep.
'99, Mr. Hubert, and you just had to know the way Mr. Hubert talked. He was master of hounds again at that hunt.
Right.
And when the hunt was over, he come up. He said, Lenny, he said, I want, he said, I want to get in a picture with you today. He said, I want to get in a picture. We can take a picture of it. I said, yes, sir. I said, no problem. I'd love
Right.
for you to get a picture. So we were standing there waiting for Mr. Charles to take the pictures. He used to always he'd take them pictures with the cameras that were the disposable cameras. He'd buy a
Right.
disposable camera, take the pictures, just mail the camera in. So me and Mr. Hubert were sitting there. You just have to know the way he talked, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Lenny, he said, I saw that sucker the first day. He said, and I thought to myself, he said, that rascal there could do it. He said, and I'll be dog if he didn't do it. He said, he does. That's how he put it. He would give you those little one-liners like that. And he
Right.
said, I thought he could do it, and he did it.
And he did it.
I'll never forget that day. So Mr. Cooper got in the picture with us that day. We were in the chase, and yeah, it was good stuff. And yeah, he was a good dog. And he was a really good male. He was the real deal. We were over there when mentioned Archie Hucks gave me that first dog, that lefty dog. And we were over there. Archie had put a little pen together. It was like 80 acres. And we were over there when Pippin was a young male. He might have been 13 months old, 12,
Right.
11, 12, 13 months old. And we were over there. And so we couldn't get any coyotes then. So we put all gray foxes in the pen. That's all we could get. Put like 40 or 50 grays in there. Well, once people started running, the grays didn't last.
Of course, yeah.
We were over there running, and we were up there. We didn't have a clubhouse, but we were up there at the camp where there was a fire barrel. And next thing you know, Pippin come through there, and he was hunting, and he was giving tongue. He was giving tongue, and I'm like, what the heck is this dog doing? And he was popping, and I'm like, man, I said, I'm fixing to knock this dog out. I don't know what he's doing up here, but
right.
I don't do it. And about the time I said, I'm fixing to knock this dog out, a gray fox comes shooting from underneath that bush, and then he did go to pour Nicole too. And that's happened to me twice. It happened to me there that day, pleasure running, where there was a couple of our buddies there, and I was like, "You're gonna embarrass me in front of my buddies here."
Right.
And then he proved me wrong. He was right, and I was just weren't patient enough. He was 100% right, and I wasn't doing it. And then we were up at Paul's Caskey's back. We did a 8-hour, 7-hour hunt.
Okay.
8 hour the first day, 7 hours the second day.
Right.
And the second day, it was about like an hour to go in the hunt. So they hadn't been out there. The dogs are laying down everywhere quick.
Right.
And I had a Jip that I bought from Paul Caskey.
Right.
And next thing you know, we're up there. We're all standing around. The dogs sleeping everywhere. And I see one of my Jips. She come through there, and she was started popping and popping. And I'm like, what the hell is this dog doing? Well, there's like 20 people up there standing there looking. And I'm like, man, they think my damn gyp's up here babbling, and no more. I was about to get nervous there too,
Right.
and lo and behold, though, she was right, and I needed to be more patient and didn't panic. And a gray fox shot out from underneath a rock up there at the camp at his pen, and
No kidding.
she was right. She ran that thing around that clubhouse on that seventh hour, that sixth to seventh hour there, and
Right.
yeah, that was good stuff.
Whew, man. I
Good
tell
old
you,
days.
I've had a few people hit me up and like, man, you ought to put one of them old school 2-day, 3-day, 2-day long hunts go on. I'm like, man, I am not doing that. More power to the guys that did it back in the day. But man, it's hard enough to find judges now. Imagine trying to tell a judge, yeah, hey, you got to stay up for 8 hours and judge 8 hours straight.
Yeah, so we had to feed them. So we had to feed them. I did one at Pamplico, an 8 hour one day.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to basically you had to go there and feed them breakfast at like 4 in the morning because we made everybody get there early to hurry up and wait. Basically, is what
Right.
we did.
Right.
And then so we got the judges there early, fed them breakfast. Well, 3-4 hours later they're hungry, so I had to go. I got the place uptown, the Red Barn.
Yep.
Took them cheeseburgers and French fries. All the judges gave me their order of what they wanted. So I went there and they got the cheeseburgers and French fries and delivered that to them while they were out there. And then after the hunt was over, they had to go in there and figure scores. You got to remember now, we had to figure by hand back then. We didn't have a computer.
Yep.
So it took a damn long time to go in there and figure by hand, and especially when we started having coyotes. And so we had to feed them. We had to feed them supper too. And so it was definitely a long day.
That's a lot of work.
They were wore out. Them judges that was the greatest thing we ever came up with when we started doing computers and had a computer out there.
Right.
Man, it would be a long day. I can remember a bunch of nights that we didn't get out of here till 8 when they first put coyotes in Pamplico, and we were figuring by hand. It'd be 8 or 9 o'clock at night to get done. We'd have 500, 600 dogs, and
Right.
You'd have to figure all those scores by hand. It was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard some of the horror stories of those, those 2-day, 2-day championship hunts of you get done with the first day, you do your scores, and by the time you finish your scores, you get about an hour nap, and then the second day starts. I could not imagine, man. That you talk about having to have some heart to be able to just to judge those hunts. I couldn't imagine doing that. The Hounds podcast is happy to announce our newest partnership with Low 10 Outfitters. If your kennel is looking for new apparel to rock to the next field trial or the upcoming hunting season, look no further than Low 10 Outfitters. They offer shirts, hats, hoodies, coats, and other accessories with custom logos for your kennel or your hound's name to go on. With top quality merchandise and long-lasting quality, you can't go wrong with Low 10 Outfitters. Now we are offering Hounds podcast apparel on their website at low10outfitters.com. Be on the lookout, guys. It's there. Go purchase it. We're live, guys. Go in, go purchase it. Low10outfitters.com. Click on the Houndstails section for your Houndstails apparel and the Houndstails Pin Series apparel. So thank you so much for Low 10 Outfitters for teaming up with the Houndstails podcast. Now, let's get you back to the rest of your episode. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. We're going to split this one in half, and I promised y'all 2 episodes this week, so we're going to drop the other episode here in just a couple days. I'm going to kind of leave it as a surprise when the last part of this episode will be coming out, but y'all stay tuned. I promise it is coming out shortly. So if you have not yet, please don't forget to like and subscribe on whatever listening platform that you are listening to us on. And be sure to check out our TikTok page as well, too. So it's kind of catching a little bit of steam and momentum here. So, guys, I thank y'all so much for listening and the continued support. And we will be back here in just a couple days. Thanks, guys. And like always, happy hunting.